England's green and pleasant land is a giant patchwork. Pastures linked and divided by a network of hedges created in some cases as long as 4,500 years ago. At their peak, in the days before mechanised farming, they may have stretched some 500,000 miles. As natural as they look, they are entirely man-made. But they have become the very arteries of English nature, providing sanctuary to wild flora and fauna. Their original purpose was to act as enclosures for domestic animals. As woods and forests were swallowed up by the demand for farmland, creatures like this needed a new home. The hedges came to the rescue and even provided this animal with a new name. The ancient craft of hedge laying is practiced mainly in winter, when the skeletal parts are exposed and can be bent and formed at will. It is hard to imagine that this seemingly barren, impenetrable barrier will soon sport diverse colours. In spring, they're pale and delicate, heralding the promise of the season to come. Slowly, hawthorn, blackthorn, hazel, beech, elm, oak, field maple, ash, hornbeam, dogwood, elder and rose begin to leaf, creating homes for the birds who vie for space. They soon begin to perform in the hope of attracting a mate. But not all the audience is taking in the show. Beneath the stage, stirred by the warming air and her own internal alarm clock, cocooned in the leafy cradle that has been home throughout the winter, the hedgehog comes to life. Known in Elizabethan times as the urchin or troublesome spirit, the hedgehog has been persecuted and culled right up until modern times for stealing milk straight from cows, eggs from hens and fruit from orchards, all crimes of which the hedgehog has never been guilty. In recent times, the hedgehog's fortunes have thankfully been reversed. Her fat stores, depleted by 5 months of hibernation, drive the hedgehog to forage for her favourite foods, worms and weevils. Sharp spines ensure that she does not become food herself and allow her to march with relative impunity. Hungry badgers and brave foxes might try their luck, but it is mainly cold winters and the nighttime menace of the roads that kill hedgehogs now. Fortified by a tasty meal, she turns her attention to amorous pursuits and shuffles off in search of a mate. Landscape design on this massive scale was the result of two Acts of Parliament in 1740 and 1830, which fostered the enclosure of land, hard won from the woodland scrub. It was natural in the English lowlands to turn to hedging to achieve this. Elsewhere in the hills, where winds batter any new growth and where the soil was rocky, the dry stone wall was the natural choice. In some places, wall and hedge mingle. Sometimes hedges were strengthened with earthworks to create drove roads used to drive livestock from place to place. Many still meander their way through the English countryside. They are lined today, as then, with some of this country's most glorious wildflowers: the cowslip, the periwinkle, and the lesser celandine. The greatest spectacle offered by the hedgerows are the blossoms. Blackthorn brings the whiteness of snow to the mildest of springs. These yellow lamb's tails, hazel catkins, almost provide a camouflage for the yellowhammer. Building up banks on which to plant hedges often produced a ditch, which provides another vital commodity for life: water, essential for both bathing and cooling off. A luxury that becomes a necessity for this long-tailed tit as she begins the hot work of feeding her hungry chicks. The hedge's green ribbon of life provides all this family needs: food and shelter. Within the protective bramble boughs, the young chicks are safe from the marauding magpies and sparrowhawks. But for the blackbird, leaving the immediate security of the hedge to find food can present danger. For the sparrowhawk patrolling the length of the hedge, it provides an opportunity. To produce hay and silage, modern farm machinery indiscriminately levels the meadows. Only the hedges and those plants that grow in their shadow are safe. These plants, unmolested by browsing livestock, have their own defences, like the thorns on this rose. Or the microscopic stingers armed with formic acid on these nettles. Not every creature is deterred. Suited in black, the caterpillars of the peacock butterfly munch nettles voraciously. They enjoy the nettle's protection, and that provided by their own poison-tipped spines. These defences are intended to make them a food of last resort. But for those like the thrush, who have the skill to smooth away the spines, the caterpillars can be safely fed to the young. Food is the highest priority. There are clamouring young to feed everywhere. Some of them are silent and out of sight. Beneath the hedgerow, the female hedgehog, deserted by the male after mating, has given birth to a small litter of 2 healthy piglets. Born blind and helpless, they make a continuous piping sound like a nest full of young birds. The characteristic quills that will protect them so well in later life are soft and flexible. They will not be replaced by adult ones until the piglets are 3 weeks old, when their eyes have opened, and they are no longer a danger to themselves or their siblings. As the thrush settles down for the night, the piglet's mother sets off on the hunt for weevils and worms, or whatever she can find to sustain her milk supply. The hedgehog may well seek the nests of ground-dwelling birds, like these red-legged partridges that scratch a living at the margins of the fields. The eggs from their unguarded nest provide an easy meal for the hedgehog. Healthy hedges, free from the ravages of insecticides, are teeming with invertebrate life, in stark contrast to the fields on whose borders they lie. These unsung, unseen creatures that represent the vast majority by weight of the hedgerow's inhabitants are the building blocks of this habitat. Their lowly position at the bottom of the food chain is what allows their more conspicuous neighbours to exist. The caterpillar, having found itself a safe twig within the hedgerow from which to suspend, has spun a screen behind which to change. Emerging from its chrysalis, it has transformed into this beautiful tortoiseshell butterfly. Anything small that takes to the wing within the hedgerow has to run the spider's gauntlet. This unfortunate dragonfly that came to hunt has itself become a meal, ensnared by the spider's web. It is slowly sucked dry. The lucky ones escape and flit from flower to flower, sipping summer's sweet nectar. The eyes on their wingtips mimic those of larger animals, making them a less attractive proposition for a patrolling bird. But being a larger animal does not bring with it any guarantee of safety from attack. Rabbits live in colonies excavated below the hedge. They look out for each other. Up on hind legs, this rabbit has a better view. Circling menacingly, these buzzards, normally carrion eaters, have young to feed and will happily make off with a rabbit, if they can catch one. Vibrations from the sentry's foot drumming are felt above and below ground, a warning to take cover or stay put. At the hub of rabbit society is the warren. This underground fortress provides dry, warm breeding quarters and a safe place to evade the eyes of the buzzards. Above and below ground, the odds are stacked against small rabbits. Few will survive to reproduce. Some will be taken by the buzzard. Others will fall victim to another familiar hedgerow inhabitant, the fox. A killer of awesome prowess. The young cubs, busily exploring the environs of the den, are naturally inquisitive and playful. A rough and tumble that is vital preparation and training for survival in later life. Exhausted by caring for her boisterous offspring, the vixen rests in the meadow. In many places the fox, like the hedgehog, has been pushed to the edge. Modern farming, together with the introduction of myxomatosis, decimated the rabbit population and has prompted the opportunist fox to colonise urban areas in search of an easier life. As they patrol the privet hedges of suburban gardens, they act as unpaid pest control officers. But some of the seemingly troublesome pests that foxes and hedgehogs dispatch are essential to the cycles of life and death that are inescapable features of the hedgerow year. We may marvel at the beauty of the butterfly and be absorbed by the antics of the fox, but on and beneath the soil there is a whole army of recyclers, busily converting rotting material into plant food. Among the roots of the hedgerow, the piglets have grown quickly on the rich diet provided by the sow's milk. At 6 weeks old, the piglets are now fully bristled. They can confidently venture out and explore. Initially, they follow their mother on feeding excursions, getting a snack along the way, and learning what's good to eat. But abruptly one night, when they are about 7 weeks old, their mother turns her back on them. Their instructive guided tours cease, and the young hogs are on their own for the first time. The world is full of curious noises and strange smells. The cowpat affords a kind of mud bath. The hedgehog uses its tongue to spread saliva over its spine. The reasons for this behaviour is not clear, but it is quite normal. As the days get shorter and cooler, the female hedgehog, free of her young, begins to slow down. She begins to prepare her bed for the long winter sleep that approaches, gathering grass, fallen leaves, and spider silk. Millions of money spiders weave this shimmering silken sea, binding the ploughed earth into the web of life. As autumn approaches, The hedge is heavy with fruit, a sure sign that it was a good spring and summer. The brilliant fruits of the dog rose hips, ripen crimson red and colour the hedgerow. Another thorn, blackthorn, bears fruit called sloes, which are traditionally mixed with gin, and brambles continue to fruit well into the autumn. They give sustenance to those fattening themselves in urgent preparation for the coming winter. The mouse in turn may become food for the stoat. Each is exquisitely adapted to its particular diet, utilising a unique niche in this complex habitat. While some stay and sleep out the dark days ahead, others are busily engaged in final preparations to fly away to warmer climes, fuelled by the hedgerow's bounty. For these late-fledging goldfinches, this thistle is the first and last staging post on a journey that will take them to Northern Europe. The drying bales of hay are a reminder that we too are bound to nature's cycles. Any part of the harvest that is overlooked does not go to waste. All the dwellers in this habitat are vulnerable. If they have not laid down enough fat, they may well never see the coming spring. The hedgehog has also been feeding busily, storing fuel to burn off over the winter. Secure under the hawthorn hedge, she will sleep away the worst that winter can bring. The hedgerow, such a vital element of the countryside, has so far survived the onslaught of modern farming. But its future is not secure, and that means even more uncertainty for those creatures that have fashioned a life on the hedge.